Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Hannah. I'm an online women's fat loss coach. We've worked with over 500 women to regain healthy lifestyle, not using extreme methods. And I wanted to talk today about GLP-1 medication. Now, this might seem a little bit late to the game, but the question I'm getting asked constantly now is more about what to do as people come off of it. What I want to break down today is what the GLP-1s actually do, why people lose weight on them, and maybe the benefits of going on them. A little bit about the risks that probably people aren't speaking about until after stopping using them, and then whether they actually solve long-term problems. So let's get into it. What actually is GLP-1? Well, it is a hormone that your body naturally produces. Its job is going to help to regulate your appetite, your blood sugar levels, digestion, and finally your insulin release. So that's what it, and the GLP-1 medication is basically mimicking what this hormone does within the body. When you take GLP-1, it's going to slow down how quickly food leaves your stomach. It's going to reduce your hunger signals, so you hear people talk a lot about food noise. It reduces that pretty much completely. A lot of people forget to eat, and it makes you feel fuller on less food. So you can dramatically reduce your calories with pretty much no difficulty whatsoever. So those things combined stop people having the urges for food. They keep you satisfied all day long. You just generally don't need to eat much, which is why people lose weight so quickly on the medication. I think as a coach, a lot of the questions I get asked is, am I for it or against it? And my stance is pretty much they have their place. I want to talk a little bit about the benefits because it would be dishonest to say that there isn't any. And for some people, they can be incredibly helpful, specifically for people with obesity, for type 2 diabetes, for people who really have a difficult relationship with food. For these individuals, it can really help create a calorie deficit and massively improve their health markers in a way that they were never able to do before. For someone in that position, being obese versus taking this medication, if you're weighing up the health risks, this is going to be a no-brainer. However, you can do it without, and I really want to say that, yes, this is going to make it easier, but what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is this is making it much more difficult later down the line, and it's whether you are willing to rely on this for the rest of your life. And we're going to kind of go into that. This injection just takes the hardship away, okay? You don't feel the hunger that you feel when you're in deficit. You don't need to worry about what you're eating. You're literally just trying to force feed yourself. I've heard stories about women having to go be sick in the toilet because they're trying to eat a dinner out with their mates and the digestion is so slowed and stuff, it just makes them be sick. It's the bit that nobody talks about that I want to basically touch on, because yes, they have their benefits, but this is what you need to consider when taking them, is what's going to happen after the fact. This injection is not going to teach you anything about portion control, building muscle, habits, nutrition, or lifelong sustainable change. And if you're watching this, I'm warning you now, as soon as you come off, and if you haven't worked on those things, and actually even if you have, you are going to find it incredibly difficult to stick to what you were doing before. We're seeing a lot of people rebound 1 to 2 stone up as soon as they're coming off, because the noise is so loud, they've maybe not got good structures or habit in place, and they're really struggling to keep at where they were before. Even if we're seeing a lot of people eating maybe 600 to 800 calories, that's going to have its own health implications. Hair falling out, skin looking terrible, muscle mass at that stage is probably going to be wasting away as well. It's as soon as you reintroduce more food, it's going to be a case of the weight's going to come back on. And it goes back to these 5-2 diets, cutting out carbs. It's just, in my opinion, it is just another extreme that is going to get you to where you want to be, But as soon as like real life resumes, you're going to keep being in that cycle of putting it back on, because the discipline and the skills that you learn through a calorie deficit without this help is, in my opinion, valuable, because you really do it in a way that is sustainable. And sorry, for those of you who don't know, that's my coaching company's name. And this hides all of that. So it's fine for a short period of time. And as I say, for certain people, it definitely helps them. But I think we need to be really careful about who is using it. I think I touched on it a little bit there, but as a coach, and I know a lot of researchers are speaking about this as well, is the muscle mass, or the loss of muscle mass, I should say, that is proving to be a little bit of an issue. As I've touched on before, if we're eating very little food, because of that, a large proportion of the weight loss is going to come from your muscle mass, not just body fat. And remember, muscle mass is what is going to shape your physique, and the muscle is going to support long-term fat loss. The other issue is, if you're not able to eat very much, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to build muscle even if you are strength training. And that's where we do often recommend a moderate calorie deficit and nothing too extreme, so that you have the ability to continue progressing in your strength training alongside. Whereas on the GLP-1, when you're eating such low calories, your energy levels are going to be a massive issue as well. So if you're not focusing on your protein target and strength training, people are ending up smaller but not necessarily healthier. So protein target needs to be like a top priority, and making sure that you are strength training during this process. Obviously, I touched on it earlier, stories I've heard, but a lot of the common side effects are going to be like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, like extreme fatigue, like just feeling so tired on a daily basis. A lot of the reports I've heard is just like many people don't feel great on them, but obviously they're getting the result, which is motivating them to keep it going. I think the question that people need to be asking is like, right now it's, can this help me lose weight? Yes, of course it can. At a cost, obviously. It's not cheap. I think it's about $350 per month now. Yes, of course. I think the question you need to ask yourself is like, what happens when I stop taking it? Because as I mentioned, if your like habits, which needs to be like the top thing we're talking about here, if the habits haven't changed, you will likely regain the weight that you have lost while using this medication. As a coach, I'm not like anti-medication. I think it has its place for a certain demographic, and I think it should be used very carefully. In my experience, and from what I've witnessed, it's the coming off of it. That's the thing that you need to be really careful of. And my perspective, as always, from someone who's done extreme diets, is like long-term results. And yes, you might be able to get there quicker with this, but I think you have to consider the cost of that in the long run, because it could be that you waste time taking this, losing the weight super quickly, to then go back to normal, regain everything back, and then be back stuck at square one and just constantly going on and off this medication. If it was up to me, I think a smaller dosage would be better for people who need it, and then really working on their nutritional habits, their strength training, portion control, building like lifelong healthy change. I think that's something that you really have to be working on alongside of this, because it appears magic, but it's like really not. The long-term results are going to come from eating enough protein, strength training, doing something that fits into your lifestyle, and managing a calorie deficit in a way that allows you to live your life at the same time. If you are someone who is like looking for the next magic fix, and you know, maybe you've been thinking about going on this medication, I just wanted to give a slightly different perspective, because you can do it without. I am not saying it's easy. Fat loss is not easy. If it was, we would all be exactly where we want to be, and no one would have any issues with their weight. It is a challenge, but I urge people to look at it as like, not a difficult challenge. Try and look at it as like an exciting challenge of like, you're putting yourself out there, you're looking to change your life, you're going to build so many habits along the way, discipline, resilience, you're going to learn so much about yourself. And I just don't believe you do that when you use this medication. I think your journey to getting there would feel very different if you're not improving your habits, lifestyle, protein, muscle mass, all that fun stuff that actually makes the journey worth it alongside. Does that make sense? Basically what I'm saying is you just need a clear structure that fits into your lifestyle, and probably the reason you've not managed to find that yet is because you're trying to find all these quick fixes and all these plans that like don't actually fit within your life. And that's exactly what I help my clients build. So I will pop my type form below if you are interested in actually learning how to drop body fat, build lean muscle, have a plan that you actually love, enjoy, want to continue long after you finish it. That is the secret. That is the secret sauce. It's not necessarily medication. And like I've said, I'm not anti-medication. I think it has its place for a certain demographic of people, but I've seen way too many women who don't need to be on this using it as a crutch, and then when they come off of it are really, really struggling, and mentally really struggling as well, because when you've had a taste for where you want to be and then it feels like it's slipping away from you, that I think is way worse than the difficulty of going through the initial stages of getting to where you want to be when you're just using a calorie deficit, building good routines, eating well, etc. I am curious though to hear like what's other people's opinions on it. Maybe pop it in the comments below. I hope this has been useful on like how it actually works, the things to watch out for if you are considering taking it, maybe looking at the habits you want to be building alongside. And if it has been useful, do give me a little thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel for more helpful fat loss advice, and I will see you in the next one.